As the Cincinnati Bengals come into Arrowhead to take on the Kansas City Chiefs, this will be a huge statement game for either Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes to define their legacy. And we're going to discuss about that in today's video, as well as get in depth on this preview as both teams try to fight for their right to go into the Super Bowl. But before we do get into all of that, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video, as I'm going to keep you up to date on anything Kansas City Chief related that you do not want to miss out on. And without further ado, let's have some fun. Now, before we get too ahead of ourselves in this video, what better way to start this video than to focus on the injury report and to focus on the guy who has a $500 million ankle that everybody needs to know about, and that is no other than Patrick Mahomes. Now, we have been getting very, very positive reports coming out of Chiefs camp after the game and all the way through Wednesday, which is when this video is being recorded. Today will be the Kansas City Chiefs' first day at camp. Patrick Mahomes, Coach Reid, they took the podium today. Reid, he said, hey, he looks good, he looks fine. Of course, the ankle's going to be ginger, and then you heard it from QB1 himself saying that he doesn't feel like at the moment there's no limitations, and if there is, they will find a way to work around them. And then, of course, when you got reporters who are going to zoom in on that ankle, that is what they did in specific. All the way down, just watching him walk down the stairs and straight into the practice field. We saw how he was walking on it, how he was stretching, how he was basically moving and jogging around on it. And honestly, it looked very good. Now, there are probably still some tender spots that we saw, like him coming down the stairs. You saw him coming kind of gingerly on it. Now, could it be physical? Could it be mental? Who knows? You just saw he wasn't trying to put too much pressure on it. But as for him walking, as for him doing stretches, as for him even jogging, that is a huge sign of improvement. High ankle sprains usually take 6 weeks. And now that we're going into day 3, day 4 after the injury, and he is moving that fine too, just headed into Friday or headed into Saturday, just wait to see what that ankle will do moving forward. Most guys, when they have an injury like that, takes them time, takes them a good amount of time. I don't know if you guys remember, and it's also resurfacing around the social media live wire, is Mac Jones. We saw his reaction when he had a high ankle sprain. The way Patrick Mahomes is handling this has been second to none. But what do you expect? From someone who wants to be on the field, he made it known he is going to play in this game, and he is going to try to do his best to have this team advance to the Super Bowl. So very positive signs coming from QB1. But that wasn't the only initial injury report we got was from the quarterback position. We also got an update on Mecole Hardman, which was kind of surprising because a lot of us kind of wrote him off, kind of thought we may never see Mecole Hardman in a Kansas City Chiefs jersey, but Coach Reid mentioned that he is progressing very well. Now, I kind of take that with a grain of salt because the last time we heard a report like this, it was the same exact statement, and then we got to Friday, and he had a minor setback to where he ended up missing a couple weeks. Now, we have to see how the week progresses, and we have to see how he does moving forward. But if we can get Mecole back in this game, and he actually can be on the field and producing, that is so huge for this offense. And I will talk about it more in this video, but it's something we haven't got to see this year with Mecole Hardman and Kadarius Toney on the field together. If Hardman is healthy, you could do so many different packages and keep the Cincinnati Bengals defense on their toes. So I'm crossing my fingers that he's healthy, but also I'm not holding out hope too. I just got to see how the week goes for Mecole Hardman. And then two other key starters was Jody Fortson and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Coach Reid did bring them up today, saying that if anyone was going to be activated and probably brought to elevation, it would probably be Jody Fortson over Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And again, that's just another weapon you could use in the receiving game and in the tight end game as well. Noah Gray has made strides and looked very good as a tight end number 2. But don't forget what Jody Fortson can do with this team. He is a good, solid weapon and something the team would need if you have Travis Kelce doubled, if you have anyone locked up. The more weapons on this team, the better. That's why it's a good sign to hear Mecole might be coming back and Jody Fortson might be coming back. And then the Clyde Edwards-Helaire news, you take it for what it's worth, unfortunately. I say unfortunately because I do expect things from Clyde. I know there's a lot of Chiefs Kingdom who doesn't, and they're actually thrilled probably about this news because you focus on Isaiah Pacheco and Jet McKinnon. I agree with you too. I want this game to solely be focused on Isaiah Pacheco and let him take over. But I'm not going to forget what Clyde Edwards-Helaire did in the early portion of this year where he was the one who getting majority of our touchdowns in the red zone with McCole Hardman. Now, I would not give Clyde Edwards-Helaire more snaps than Isaiah Pacheco, but that doesn't seem to be something we need to worry about this week. Now, let's get into the topic for conversation, and it is these two quarterbacks. You got Joe Burrow. You got Patrick Mahomes. You got both of them claiming they are him. Now, it depends on who you ask. Of course, the Cincinnati fan base is going to stay strong with Joe Burrow. And by the way, I do want to mention, because they have been getting a bad rep, and Cincinnati fans have actually been, I will say, 50-50. Of course, every fan base has those fans who are going to tell you worthless stats and say your team doesn't have a chance. And you actually have the realistic ones that will actually give your team kudos and let you know how it is and be very generous and representing their side the way they should, and how I would expect Chiefs Kingdom to return the favor back. So that has been very, honestly, surprising, and I love to have the comments with any fan bases, but I've enjoyed it with the Who Day Nation, Cincinnati Bengals fans. It's been fun. So keep coming in, keep checking out the videos we can discuss, and hey, let the best team win. But we're talking about Joe Burrow, we're talking about Patrick Mahomes, and like I mentioned, Cincinnati Bengals, you will stick up for your guy. Chiefs Kingdom will stick up for their guy. But at the end of the day, I really don't think it's no debate. The only thing Joe Burrow really has over Patrick Mahomes is he's 3-0 against the dude. But again, that can all be the past if Patrick Mahomes finds a way to win this game injured and hobbled, and you don't focus on those last 3 losses and you focus on the one where it takes your team on a chance to win a Super Bowl. That's all I have to say. It'd be there. I think Patrick Mahomes is the most athletic guy out there, and I think he's probably one of the most athletic, if not athletic, quarterbacks we have ever witnessed. And I'm not saying that just because I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan. I think also Cincinnati Bengal fans can recognize and appreciate the greatness of Patrick Mahomes. I will give Joe Burrow his due diligence, though, is he is very, very cool, calm, and collective. And if we didn't have Patrick Mahomes as our quarterback, I really think Joe Burrow is QB number 2 or QB number 1B, whatever you want to call it. No one plays the position at his kind of collectiveness as his calmness when it all breaks down under pressure. He does it just as well as Patrick Mahomes. He's just not as athletic as the dude, and that's why QB1 for the Kansas City Chiefs is him. But you guys do have a stud on your side, and I am not taking anything away from that. I do believe he is the second best quarterback in the league, and I honestly think it's not up for debate. I know a lot of people will say, what about Josh Allen? I think there's a lot of questions around Josh Allen that need to be answered, and I think this year Joe Burrow took those leaps to be QB number 2, and he's a young dude too, so he's also got a lot of progression, as we mentioned with Patrick Mahomes. Both quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes is about to enter his prime. Joe Burrow isn't even in his prime yet. That is something very, very exciting for the NFL to see, that you got so many young guys, and they're not even in their 30s yet, which is what quarterbacks typically hit their prime. So the NFL is in good hands for the future, and it's going to be exciting to see. But Chiefs Kingdom, you already knew. Patrick Mahomes is him. He will do his thing, and he has always been QB1. We've seen it week in, time out. He always proves he's the best QB in the league, and I believe he will do it this week as well, where people have questioned him. They have counted him out. They have counted this team as underdogs, and it is going to be fun to watch. Now it is time to get all the way into it, full steam ahead. If you guys are new to the channel, this is how I will do this preview, breaking it down. We will focus on the Kansas City Chiefs offense taking on the Cincinnati Bengals defense, and then this Kansas City Chiefs defense taking on the Cincinnati Bengals offense. And then you got to focus on the special teams, because they've been a roller coaster ride throughout this season, so you never know what you're going to get. So I got to predict and hope for things that what the special teams can do in this AFC Championship game. But nonetheless, let's focus right on the offense. And again, everything moves as Patrick Mahomes moves, and he might not be able to move as he usually does. At least that's what people think. At least that's what I think and everyone else does. What if it's so surprising that he comes out and he's as mobile as ever and he basically shocks the world? That's at least what I would hope to see, is like his first play, he just scrambles and he just chucks it 50 yards downfield to Kadarius Toney, or like, oh, we got this type of game. Now, I'm going to try to be realistic because maybe that's not realistic. But again, Patrick Mahomes is not realistic as well. So you should expect the unexpected. But for a game plan for the Kansas City Chiefs, what I should expect and what I hope to expect, because it's what got them bit in the ass last year, is they did not focus on running the ball heavily. And it was in the second half too where they completely abandoned it when they were up by two and a half scores. Does that even make sense? You guys know the score was like 24-7. They were up by a wide margin and they couldn't hold on that lead. And that is because miscues and self-inflicted wounds, and you didn't commit to the run game. You need to commit to the run game. You need to watch the tape of what happened in last year's AFC Championship game, and you need to have Isaiah Pacheco prove he is him. Not prove he is him. How about establish he is him? Because literally, he had 12 carries last week. If you gave him 18 to 20, there is no doubt in my mind he is probably in the range of 140 yards to 150 yards. Let that man do what he needs to do. And also, I swear I say it every week, but nonetheless, this is no different, but it is more crucial. Take pressure off of Patrick Mahomes. And if that ankle is showing it is hurting, let Isaiah Pacheco do his thing and let him run crazy with it. And also, you got to involve your RB 1A, 1B. He's definitely not an RB 2. Jet McKinnon has to be more involved than he was last week. He was amazing in the pass blocking game. He is the reason why this O-line basically got their act together and kept Mahomes upright through the second half of the game, because he was laying the wood on a lot of people. And I understand why he was in the second half even though they weren't running him. And I know a lot of Chiefs Kingdom were going after Jerick McKinnon, saying, oh, he wasn't the same Jerick McKinnon he was in the regular season. I guess he doesn't show up in the playoffs. You guys are just watching the stats on, because if you watch him play on the field, he was laying dudes out. Yeah, the box score might not be crazy for Jet McKinnon, but he did show up last week, and he needs to be there in the pass protection game, but you need to get him involved in screen games too, because if Mahomes can't plant on that foot, at least you have someone reliable in the short passing game that can actually turn a short pass into 10, 15, a house call. Jerick McKinnon is your guy there too. But best believe the Cincinnati Bengals, what they do best on defense is they're amazing in their secondary, and they can play single coverage on you and excel, and they can only blitz 3 or 4 and excel. That means the O-line. You need to do your thing. If they're really going to stick to this blitzing 3 or 4 guys, you cannot let them get after Patrick Mahomes. You need to hold your own to where it forces the Cincinnati Bengals to blitz. And then if they do blitz, that could be Patrick Mahomes' game where he will find someone open and he will prove, even if it's the tiny bit of mobility, he will make a play. And that's what I'm expecting. I'm also expecting Travis Kelce not to have a crazy game, but to still have a big game. I don't care what defense it is, he will show up in the playoffs. I'm not saying he's going to go for $150 and 2 touchdowns. But if he has kind of not similar, but last week, the only thing that was sexy about the box score with him was he had 14 catches. But he literally averaged like 8 yards a catch, which is nothing too crazy. But if he has that type of game again where you're basically almost getting a first down every play, that is huge. And expect guys like Juju to step up. MVS, Kadarius Toney. If McCullough's out there, that'd be great. But I don't know really what to anticipate, because I expect the Cincinnati Bengals to stay the same because they have succeeded in the last 3 games. And I expect the Kansas City Chiefs kind of not to turn things around completely either. I expect them to almost stay the same too, maybe run the ball a little more, because what really hurts them the most is those self-inflicted wounds. Let's not act crazy and just focus on the Cincinnati Bengals have won the last 3 games. All 3 games have been within 1 possession, and all 3 games had a reason why Kansas City lost the game, and they had turnover woes. If they don't turn the ball over at all, we will see what really type of game this is. It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. But the offense, they need to protect your boy. They need to focus on the run game, and they need to make sure that O-line stays sturdy. That way it gives Patrick Mahomes enough time to complete short passes and maybe even take a shot downfield. But now we're going to switch the side of the ball and go to the defensive side, where this is the time for the boys to step up. And Chris Jones, everyone has been focused on you. You're that high-profile defensive tackle. You don't have that playoff sack yet. you mentioned in the offseason that you have been focused on this, that you let Joe Burrow get away with a couple plays. You have to let him feel it this game. They call him Joe Cool for a reason, because under duress, or even when he has no pressure, he stays cool, calm, and collective. Well, force the pressure, and let's see if he can stay true to his name. I really, really hope Chris Jones goes crazy. And again, for all you Chris Jones playoff haters, because you guys do love him in the regular season, you should love him at all times. He helped the team immensely last week to where Frank Clark was able to get after the quarterback, Derek Nottie either. He was double teamed a lot last week. Even though, again, the box score doesn't show it, watch the tape. The dude played great. The stats just won't say it. And again, Frank Clark, the playoff king. When the lights come on, he shines bright. He smells that blood in the water. If he gets one more sack, he will pass Reggie White. Just imagine if he does it against Joe Burrow. I'm expecting Steve Spagnuolo to have an interesting game plan coming forward. When I say interesting, I really believe that. I don't know if it's going to be something I like. I don't know if it's going to be something Chiefs Kingdom likes. But I best believe that he's going to have something to where he hopes it excels and he hopes it makes Joe Burrow uncomfortable. And then the secondary, they're young. Not a lot of people know them. Not a lot of people give them the respect they need. But as I mentioned, Justin Reed has turned a corner. Juan Thornhill, he has been balling out. If Trent McDuffie and L'Jarius Sneed can hold their guys, because the Cincinnati Bengals represent so many weapons that no other team does. When you got to go against a Jamar Chase, a T. Higgins, a Tyler Boyd, a Joe Mixon, a Samaje Perine, and that's just the starters. The list can go on and on. Whoever is open, Joe Burrow will find a way to make a play. That means the Kansas City Chiefs need to be on their P's and Q's and make sure no one gets that open. I get it. The Chiefs defense plays a bend but don't break. That needs to be the definition here. I won't get too mad in this game if you give up yards in between the tackles and all that. But if you make a play to where you're forcing turnovers, where you're getting interceptions, that's what matters the most. The sacks, interceptions, fumbles, they are going to weigh heavy in this game, because whoever wins the turnover battle this game is who will probably walk away and go to the Super Bowl. And that's something Kansas City has not been that great this season, but the playoffs is a new monster. So expect the big name guys that shine bright. But what Joe Burrow loves to do is those short to intermediate passes in the middle of the field. That's where I expect Spag schemes to take, hopefully, a new lift. That's at least what I'm hoping for, because guys like Nick Bolton and Willie Gay, they have struggled, not all season, but specifically against the Bengals, to where those guys have been open. There needs to be key adjustments and key elements to make sure that those guys don't get too open, because then that's when it becomes Tom Brady-esque. And that's when all those comparisons to Joe Burrow start coming out with Tom Brady is, oh, he's just finding the quick slants, the quick intermediate passes, and he's just going downfield. We don't need those long 7 to 8 to 9 minute drives that end up being touchdowns. That middle of the field has to be congested, and you have to stop your man. I expect these guys to be ready and to have their number called up too, because as much as we focus on Patrick Mahomes' injury on the offensive side of the ball, you got to focus on it on the defensive side of the ball. And that means the defense needs to make stops to give this offense a chance to give a lead and to extend a lead. Watch out for this defense. And I'm going to say right now, I still got my eyes plugged on Juan Thornhill. It seems like he's been getting a pick every week now. He's been a ball hawk. There we go. Ball hawk, playmaker. He's been doing his thing. I'm excited to see what he does this week against some big, high-profile name wide receivers. And to end this video off, we're going to focus on the special teams. And special teams, I don't really ask too much for you. All I ask is to replicate what you did last week. It did start off a little shaky, but then the rest of the game was magnificent. Harrison Butker, you made 2 50-yard field goals. You drilled all your extra points, and you probably made the game-saving special teams kickoff return tackle. That is what we expect out of special teams. They were immaculate last week. If they can keep trending upwards and we don't have to worry about special teams, that would be so great. That would be amazing, because in these type of games, 1 point does matter, 3 points matters, kickoff, punt returns matters. Dave Tobe needs to have these boys wired in. And in the divisional round, it was a great sight to see that they were getting things corrected. We just got to hope it happens in the championship game as well, specifically against the Cincinnati Bengals, who they look for anything. So in special teams, if you have a turnover or any miscues, it doesn't matter on what part of the field it is. The Cincinnati Bengals will capitalize on anything, so you can't give them anything. With that, Chiefs Kingdom, I'm going to close this video off. Let me know how you're feeling about the Cincinnati Bengals. We're halfway through. Sunday can't come quick enough. It's going to be an exciting game. I'm excited about it. I love being labeled the underdog because it's rare. We don't get it often, but let's see how it takes. With that, I'm going to check out, but before I do, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. Give me that big thumbs up if you like this video. I'll check back in with y'all shortly. Y'all take care.